Sir, we don't allow loitering in our showroom. This is a high-end establishment for serious buyers only. The words sliced through the ambient music of Tesla's flagship showroom in Jupiter, Florida, drawing disapproving glances from the impeccably dressed staff. Rory McIlroy froze mid-step, his hand still hovering over the sleek white interior of the Model X Plaid. Just 3 days earlier, he had stood on Augusta National's 18th green. The weight of a decade-long quest finally lifted from his shoulders as he slipped on the iconic green jacket. Now, in worn jeans, a faded gray hoodie pulled low over his face, and a week's worth of victory stubble, the five-time major champion looked nothing like the polished golf superstar whose face graced magazine covers worldwide. "I'm actually here to pick up my car," Rory replied softly, his Northern Irish accent barely perceptible after years in America. Derek Whitman, the showroom manager, a tall, slender man with meticulously styled silver-streaked hair and a custom-tailored suit, regarded him with unconcealed disdain. His golden name tag gleamed under the showroom's strategic lighting as he looked Rory up and down, taking in the scuffed sneakers and the frayed hem of his jeans. "Do you have an appointment? A confirmation number?" Derek's tone made it clear he expected neither. "Yes, I do," Rory responded, reaching for his phone in his pocket. "It should be under McIlroy." "McIlroy," Derek repeated flatly, making a show of checking his tablet. "And you're here for—" "The Model X Plaid. White exterior, black interior, fully loaded. I ordered it 3 months ago." Derek's eyebrows rose slightly. "The Plaid starts at $96,030, sir. Fully loaded. We're talking over $110,000 with customization." He glanced pointedly at Rory's attire. "Perhaps there's been some confusion about the vehicle class?" A wealthy-looking couple entered the showroom, the woman draped in designer clothes, the man checking his Rolex with practiced nonchalance. Derek's eyes immediately darted toward them, his opportunity to escape this wasteful interaction presenting itself. "Mike," he called to a young sales associate organizing brochures at the front desk, "could you assist this gentleman while I help these customers?" Without waiting for confirmation, Derek strode confidently toward the newcomers, his voice transforming into a warm, ingratiating purr. "Welcome to Tesla Jupiter. How can I make your automotive dreams come true today?" Mike, a lanky 20-something with earnest eyes behind trendy glasses, approached Rory with an apologetic smile. "Sorry about that. How can I help you?" "I'm here to pick up my Model X," Rory repeated, handing over his phone with the confirmation email displayed. Mike glanced at the screen, then did a visible double-take as he recognized the name. His eyes darted up to Rory's partially hidden face, widening in recognition. "You're Rory quickly raised a finger to his lips, his eyes crinkling slightly at the corners, the only visible sign of his amusement. "Just looking to pick up my car without a fuss, if that's possible." Mike nodded vigorously, lowering his voice to a whisper. "Of course, Mr. McIlroy. I watched your playoff at the Masters on Sunday. That approach on 18 was—" He shook his head in awe. "My dad and I were screaming at the TV." "Thanks," Rory said, genuinely appreciative. "Mind if we handle this somewhere a bit more private?" "Absolutely. Follow me to the delivery suite in the back. We can process everything there." As they walked past Derek, who was now gesturing expansively at the Model S Plaid's frunk, the manager shot them a disapproving glance, clearly annoyed that the vagrant hadn't been escorted out. Rory pulled his hood lower, fighting the urge to laugh at the situation. After 15 years on tour and nearly $100 million in prize money alone, being mistaken for a homeless person was a novel experience. Little did Derek know he had just made the kind of mistake that would become legendary in Tesla corporate circle. The delivery suite at the back of the showroom offered a stark contrast to the bustling main floor. Sleek minimalist furniture and white leather complemented the building's modern aesthetic, while floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a small Japanese garden. Mike gestured for Rory to take a seat at the polished conference table and powered up the suite's dedicated computer terminal. "I can't believe it's really you," Mike said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "I've been following your career since I was in high school. That PGA championship at Valhalla in 2014 changed how I looked at golf." Rory smiled, relaxing slightly, now that they were away from prying eyes. That was a good one. Playing in the dark, basically. Felt like I couldn't miss that day. And now you've got the career Grand Slam, Mike continued, genuine admiration in his voice. Only the 6th player ever. That's gotta feel insane. Still hasn't fully sunk in, Rory admitted, absently rubbing his stubbled chin. After 10 years of trying at Augusta, there were times I thought it might never happen. Through the glass wall separating the suite from the main showroom, Rory could see Derek still performing for the wealthy couple, his body language a study in practiced sycophancy. Every few moments, the manager's eyes would dart toward the delivery suite, his expression growing increasingly puzzled as he watched Mike treating the shabby stranger with unwarranted respect. "Your file's all here," Mike said, turning the screen so Rory could see. "Everything's been processed. Payment confirmed, registration completed. We just need to do the final walkthrough, and you're good to go." "Perfect," Rory replied, beginning to relax. The moment of peace was shattered as the door to the delivery suite swung open without warning. Derek strode in, his face a careful mask of professional concern. "Mike, is everything all right in here? The Hamiltons are interested in a Model X, and I thought perhaps they could view this one before it's—" His eyes landed on Rory, and his voice trailed off momentarily before recovering. "Before it's delivered. Siki, this vehicle has already been sold, sir," Mike replied, a slight edge to his normally deferential tone. "We're just completing the final paperwork with Mr. McElroy." "McElroy?" Derek repeated, the name clearly not registering any significance to him. "Well, I'm sure Mr. McElroy wouldn't mind if we show the vehicle quickly. We could offer a modest accommodation for the inconvenience." The way he stressed accommodation made it clear he was suggesting a financial incentive, assuming Rory needed the money. "Actually, I would mind," Rory said quietly but firmly. "I've been waiting 3 months for this car, and I'd prefer not to delay the delivery any further." Derek's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "I understand completely, but perhaps I should oversee the rest of this transaction myself, Mike. The Hamiltons can wait a few minutes." Mike looked uncertainly between his boss and Rory, clearly torn. "That won't be necessary," Rory began, but Derek had already circled the table and was peering at the computer screen. "I'll need to verify your identity and payment information personally," Derek insisted, his tone making it clear this wasn't standard procedure, but rather special scrutiny for Rory. "Company policy for vehicles over a certain price point. I'm sure you understand." Rory met the manager's gaze steadily. "Of course. Excellent. Driver's license, credit card, and proof of insurance, please." Rory produced his Florida driver's license and a black American Express Centurion card, sliding them across the table. Derek picked up the license, studying it carefully before looking back at Rory with narrowed eyes. "Rory McIlroy," he read aloud, the name still evidently meaning nothing to him. "And you're purchasing this vehicle outright? No financing?" "That's correct." Derek tapped a few keys on the computer, his expression growing increasingly perplexed as he reviewed the payment history. A 6-figure wire transfer had been processed months ago, with the full amount paid and cleared. "Everything appears to be in order, technically speaking," Derek conceded reluctantly. "However, given the unusual circumstances, I believe a test drive would be appropriate to ensure you're comfortable with a vehicle of this caliber." Mike's eyes widened. "Sir, Mr. McElroy has already completed the required orientation videos and—" "It's fine, Mike," Rory interjected, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "I'd be happy to take it for a spin, just to make sure it meets my expectation." Derek nodded briskly, not bothering to hide his relief at this small victory. "Excellent. I'll accompany you personally. For such a significant purchase, you deserve the manager's attention." The unspoken implication hung in the air. He didn't trust Rory alone with the vehicle. As they rose to leave, Derek added with forced casualness, "By the way, you have the same name as a golfer. Any relation?" Mike nearly choked, covering it with an unconvincing cough, while Rory's lips curved in a small, enigmatic smile. "None whatsoever." The Florida afternoon had mellowed into that perfect golden hour that photographers chase, casting everything in a warm, flattering glow. The Model X Plaid waited in the delivery bay, its pearl-white multi-coat paint job absorbing and reflecting the sunlight in a way that accentuated every streamlined curve of its aerodynamic design. Derek led Rory around the vehicle, delivering a rehearsed spiel about its features with the air of someone explaining complex technology to a technologically challenged grandparent. The Falcon Wing doors are a signature Tesla feature, Derek explained, pressing a button to demonstrate. The doors rose majestically upward, drawing admiring glances from passers-by on the busy Jupiter Boulevard. They use ultrasonic sensors to detect obstacles and adjust their opening arc accordingly. Rory nodded, running his fingers appreciatively along the vehicle's contours. This wasn't his first Tesla. He already owned a Model S, but the X would be perfect for his equipment and more practical than his collection of supercars. The acceleration might take some getting used to, Derek continued, a hint of condescension creeping back into his tone. 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Most drivers find it overwhelming at first. I think I'll manage, Rory replied mildly. His Lamborghini Aventador did it in 2.8, and his Ferrari F12 wasn't far behind. They settled into the minimalist interior, the massive 17-inch central touchscreen dominating the dashboard. Derek continued his tutorial, explaining features that Rory was already familiar with from his existing Tesla, while consistently underestimating Rory's technical knowledge and financial means. The premium connectivity package is an additional monthly subscription, Derek explained. It enables streaming services and satellite maps, though many customers find it unnecessary if budget is a concern. I'll take it, Rory replied simply. Derek handed over the key card, watching carefully as Rory adjusted the seat and mirrors with practiced precision. The casual confidence with which he handled the vehicle's setup didn't align with Derek's preconceived notions, causing a slight furrow in the manager's brow. As they pulled out of the dealership onto the palm-lined streets of Jupiter, Derek noticed a small golf ball keychain dangling from Rory's backpack in the rear seat. "You play golf?" he asked, clearly attempting to make conversation while keeping a vigilant eye on how Rory handled the powerful vehicle. "A bit," Rory replied, navigating smoothly through traffic. "You?" "Oh yes, whenever I can get away from the showroom," Derek said, visibly relaxing as he found common ground. 15 handicap. Could be better if I had more time to practice. You know how it is with work. "I do indeed," Rory agreed, suppressing a smile. "Were you watching the Masters tournament this weekend?" Derek continued, warming to the subject. "Quite a finish." "I caught some of it," Rory replied non-committally. "That McIlroy finally won it after all these years choking at Augusta," Derek said, suddenly animated. "Personally, I never thought he had it in him. Talented, sure, but mentally fragile under pressure. That's been his reputation." Rory's knuckles whitened slightly on the steering wheel. "Is that so?" "Oh, absolutely. My golf buddies and I have been saying it for years. Great swing, but when the moment gets big, he gets small." Derek shook his head sagely. "Sunday was different, though. That approach shot on the playoff hole, over the water to 2 feet, cold-blooded. It was a good shot," Rory acknowledged, a muscle working in his jaw. "I was at Duffy's sports bar when it happened. Place went absolutely crazy," Derek continued, oblivious to his passenger's identity. "Guy sitting next to me at the bar spilled his entire beer in his lap. He jumped up so fast. Can't blame him, though. It was one of the greatest pressure shots in golf history." They approached a long, straight stretch of empty road, and Rory asked casually, "Mind if I test the acceleration? See what this Plaid is really capable of?" "Sure, but be careful. The torque is—" The rest of Derek's sentence died in his throat as Rory floored the accelerator. The Model X Plaid launched forward with the sort of violence that only electric motors can deliver. Instant, silent, and brutally effective. Derek found himself pressed back into his seat, fingers gripping the armrest as the speedometer climbed with alarming rapidity. Just as quickly as he had accelerated, Rory eased off and brought the vehicle back to a legal speed. The entire demonstration executed with precise control. "Jesus," Derek exhaled, genuinely impressed despite himself. You handled that incredibly well for a first-timer?" Rory shrugged. "I've driven fast cars before." They continued their drive, making their way toward an exclusive area of Jupiter Island, where many professional athletes and celebrities owned homes. Derek grew increasingly puzzled as Rory navigated the high-end neighborhood with the confidence of someone intimately familiar with the area. "You know this area well?" Derek asked, suspicion creeping back into his voice. "I live nearby," Rory replied. Derek's eyes narrowed. In this neighborhood? Where exactly? Rory pointed toward an access road that led to the exclusive Bears Club, a golf community developed by Jack Nicklaus, where homes regularly sold for 8 figures. Just through there. Bears Club. Derek's laugh was immediate and dismissive. Right. And I'm Tiger Woods. He shook his head. Look, I've been patient with whatever game you're playing, but Bears Club? That's where top athletes and CEOs live. McIlroy himself has a place there. Rory absorbed this information with a slight quirk of his eyebrow, but said nothing. Let's head back to the dealership, Derek said firmly. I think we've gone far enough. Rory nodded and made a smooth U-turn, heading back toward the direction of the Tesla showroom. As they approached a convenience store, he pulled into the parking lot. Mind if we stop? I need something to drink. Derek sighed but acquiesced. Fine, but make it quick. Inside the store, Rory grabbed a sports drink from the refrigerated section and headed to the counter. He had just handed his credit card to the cashier when a voice called out from behind, "Holy shit! You're Rory McIlroy!" Derek, who was browsing magazines nearby, turned slowly, his face a picture of dawning horror. A middle-aged man in golf attire approached Rory excitedly, phone already out for a selfie. Man, I can't believe it. That shot on Sunday? Straight into Masters history. My wife and I were screaming at the TV. Rory smiled politely, his cover blown. Thanks for the support. It was a special moment. Would you mind? The fan asked, holding up his phone. Of course, Rory agreed, posing for a quick selfie with the delighted fan. Wait till my buddies at the club hear about this, the man gushed. Rory McIlroy at the Jupiter Quickie Mart, right after winning the green jacket. Derek stood frozen by the magazine rack, his mind racing to process what was happening. The homeless man he had nearly ejected from his showroom, the one whose golf knowledge and mental fortitude he had just spent 15 minutes criticizing, was actually Rory McIlroy, 5-time major champion, freshly minted Masters winner, and one of the wealthiest athletes on the planet. When Rory turned back toward him after signing another impromptu autograph, Derek quickly averted his gaze, suddenly fascinated by a fishing magazine held upside down in his trembling hand. The atmosphere in the Tesla shifted dramatically for the return journey. Derek sat rigid in the passenger seat, his earlier condescension replaced by a mortified silence broken only by occasional nervous throat clearing. Rory drove calmly, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth as they retraced their route back to the dealership. So, Rory finally said, breaking the uncomfortable silence, about those mentally fragile moments under pressure. Derek winced visibly. Mr. McIlroy? I cannot begin to express how deeply I— Please, call me Rory, he interrupted. After all, we've shared opinions on my career trajectory. I think we're past formalities. I am so profoundly sorry. Derek continued, his voice strained. What I said was completely unprofessional and inexcusably disrespectful. About my golf game or about calling me a vagrant? Derek's face flushed a deeper shade of crimson. Both. All of it. I've made a terrible, unforgivable mistake. Not unforgivable, Rory replied evenly. Just unfortunate. They pulled into the Tesla showroom parking lot, where Mike was anxiously pacing outside. The young sales associate's relief at seeing the car return was palpable, though his expression turned to confusion as he registered the dramatic shift in power dynamics between the two men. Everything okay? Mike asked tentatively. Perfect, Rory replied, parking precisely in the delivery bay. The car drives beautifully. I'm very pleased with my purchase. Derek exited the vehicle as if it were on fire, tugging nervously at his tie. Mike, please complete Mr. McIlroy's delivery process immediately. Ensure everything is perfect. He turned to Rory, struggling to maintain eye contact. Mr. McIlroy, I'll be in my office if you need anything further. Anything at all. As Derek retreated hastily toward the showroom, Rory called after him. Actually, Derek, there is one thing. Seats, the manager froze, then turned slowly, bracing himself. Yes, sir? Could you explain the Sentry Mode feature again? I don't think I fully understood it during our drive. Relief flooded Derek's face as he launched into a detailed technical explanation, grateful for the opportunity to demonstrate value. As they walked around the vehicle, other staff members began to notice the changed dynamic. whispering among themselves as they recognized the customer their manager had nearly ejected. And the mobile app allows you to monitor the car remotely, Derek explained, his professional demeanor partially restored. You can check charging status, precondition the cabin temperature, even summon the vehicle in certain situations. Very impressive, Rory acknowledged. Technology has come a long way. The delivery process concluded without further incident, though Derek's nervousness remained evident as he hovered nearby, personally inspecting every aspect of the vehicle preparation. When the paperwork was finally complete, he approached Rory with an envelope. "Mr. McElroy, as a small token of my regret for today's misunderstanding, Tesla Jupiter would like to offer you lifetime free supercharging on your new vehicle." He swallowed hard. "It's the least we can do." Rory accepted the envelope with a nod. "Thank you, Derek. That's very generous. Will you—" Derek hesitated, visibly struggling with the question. "Will you be contacting Tesla Corporate about today's experience?" "Would you, if you were in my position?" Rory asked quietly. Derek looked at the floor. "Yes, without question." "Then you might want to prepare for that call," Rory replied, his tone neutral. "But I believe in second chances, Derek. I needed quite a few myself over the years." He extended his hand. "We all have bad days. We all make assumptions we shouldn't." Derek shook his hand, shock and gratitude warring on his face. "I don't deserve your graciousness, Mr. McElroy." "Probably not," Rory agreed, with the hint of a smile. "But golf teaches you a lot about humility and redemption. Maybe you should play more often." As Rory prepared to leave, Mike approached with an apologetic smile. "Mr. McElroy, I hate to ask, but would you mind?" He held out a Tesla brochure and a pen. "For you, Mike?" "Absolutely." Rory signed the brochure with a personal note of thanks for Mike's help, much to the young man's delight. The Falcon Wing doors closed with a soft hydraulic hiss, and the Model X Plaid glided silently out of the showroom, leaving behind a subdued Derek and a showroom full of whispering staff. In the sanctuary of his new Tesla, Rory finally allowed himself a full laugh at the absurdity of the day's events. As he navigated toward his Bears Club home, he placed a call through the car's system. "Hey, you'll never guess what just happened to me at the Tesla dealership," he began when his wife Erica answered. "Let's just say not everyone watches golf." 1 week later, Derek Whitman sat at his desk, staring at the envelope that had been hand-delivered to the Tesla showroom that morning. His position as manager had survived, barely, after a tense call with regional management, during which he had honestly recounted his appalling treatment of one of golf's biggest stars. The only reason he hadn't been terminated immediately, his supervisor informed him, was that McElroy himself had called Tesla's corporate office and specifically requested that no punitive action be taken. He said everyone deserves a mulligan, the regional director had explained, using the golf term for a do-over. "Consider this yours. It will be your only one." The envelope on his desk bore the embossed logo of the Bears Club, Jupiter's most exclusive golf community. Inside was an invitation to a charity golf tournament the following weekend, hosted by Rory McIlroy. A personal note was scribbled at the bottom. "Thought you might enjoy seeing where mental fragility gets you in life. Bring your clubs. RM." Derek had expected professional ruin, not an invitation. The story of how he had humiliated one of golf's greatest champions had circulated throughout the dealership and beyond, reaching local social media and even some golf blogs. He had endured a week of mortified explanation and repeated apologies to customers who mentioned it. Instead of the career implosion he anticipated, he was holding a VIP invitation to one of the most exclusive events in Jupiter. When Sunday arrived, Derek pulled into the Bears Club with his 15-year-old, rarely used golf clubs in the trunk, feeling enormously out of place among the Bentleys and Aston Martins in the parking lot. The clubhouse, a Mediterranean-inspired architectural masterpiece, loomed before him, intimidating in its elegance. At registration, he was shocked to find himself paired in a foursome with Rory himself, along with Shane Lowry and Justin Thomas, both major champions in their own right. "Glad you could make it," Rory greeted him with a genuine handshake. "Nice car," he added, nodding toward Derek's modest sedan. "It's just a reliable machine that gets you where you need to go," Rory interrupted with a knowing smile. "Function over flash. I respect that." Throughout the day, Derek was struck by several revelations. First, how genuinely terrible he was at golf compared to the professionals, who seemed to play an entirely different game, even when visibly taking it easy. Second, how Rory's genuine kindness to everyone, from the caddies to the groundskeepers to the volunteers, contrasted sharply with Derek's own selective courtesy based on perceived status. And third, how the man he had dismissed as a vagrant was not only one of the wealthiest athletes in the world, but also one of the most respected for his character. After spectacularly missing a 3-foot putt on the 18th hole, cementing his position as the worst golfer in the tournament by a considerable margin, Derek found himself alone with Rory on the clubhouse terrace. "You know why I invited you today?" Rory asked, sipping a water as they looked out over the immaculate course. Derek shook his head. "Honestly, I've been wondering that all day." Public humiliation seemed the obvious answer, but you've been nothing but decent to me. "Because humiliation doesn't teach lasting lessons," Rory replied, "but connection might. I wanted you to see me as a person, not just a celebrity or a customer or a homeless guy to be ejected from your showroom." Derek nodded, genuinely chastened. "I've learned more in one day than in years of management seminars." "Everyone makes snap judgment," Rory continued. "I do it too. But when those judgments affect how we treat people, especially when we're in positions of power, even small ones like controlling who gets service at a car dealership, they can do real damage." "I won't forget the lesson," Derek promised. "And for what it's worth, I'm truly sorry. Not just because you're Rory McIlroy, but because no one deserves to be treated that way." "That's progress," Rory replied with a smile. "By the way, how's the job?" "Still have it, surprisingly." "Apparently, you put in a good word," Rory shrugged. "Like I said on the golf course, everyone deserves a second chance. I needed plenty myself." He checked his watch. "Now, I'm hosting a small dinner for the participants. Nothing fancy." "Nothing fancy" turned out to be a significant understatement. The clubhouse dining room had been transformed for an elegant reception, with some of the biggest names in golf, business, and entertainment mingling over cocktails. Derek found himself seated at a table with Shane Lowry, who regaled the group with hilarious stories about his and Rory's escapades on tour. Later, as the event wound down, Rory approached Derek one last time. "Your Tesla getting a lot of use?" he asked. "Every day," Derek replied. "Actually, I've been studying up on the technology. It's fascinating stuff." "Good," Rory said. "Because I've recommended you to some friends looking to make the switch to electric. Told them you'd take special care of them." He handed Derek a business card with 3 names written on the back, all major athletes from different sports. "They'll be calling this week." Derek stared at the card, then back at Rory. "Why would you do that, after how I treated you?" "Because second chances aren't just about surviving consequences," Rory explained. "They're about creating opportunities to do better." He nodded toward the card. "These guys are friends of mine. Treat them well, regardless of what they're wearing when they walk through your door." "I will," Derek promised. "And Mr. McIlroy, Rory, thank you." "For what?" "For not being as mentally fragile as I thought," Derek replied with a self-deprecating smile. Rory laughed. "You know, 10 years ago, I might have been. Success and failure both have a lot to teach if you're willing to learn." He extended his hand. "Just like a bad day at a Tesla dealership." As Derek drove home that evening, he reflected on how differently the past week could have unfolded. One phone call from McIlroy could have ended his career. Instead, it had transformed it, and possibly him as well. The next morning, as he opened the showroom, Derek made a small but significant change. He removed the velvet rope that had subtly divided the space between serious buyers and browsers. It was a symbolic gesture, perhaps, but a meaningful beginning. When the first customers of the day walked in, a young couple in casual clothes, looking somewhat intimidated by the pristine showroom, Derek approached them with a genuine smile. "Welcome to Tesla Jupiter," he said warmly. "How can I help you explore the future of driving?"